the peace, they found out that the Venezuela operation really needed to happen in order to oust all these corrupt politicians and people that were involved in this deal in 2020, some of these other fraud schemes, and so forth. So I just want to chart that I do believe that there's a dots to be connected here with the Doge operation, Musk, the Institute of Peace, all those people, the USAID money. Now Rubio saying we're not giving any money to those folks. We're going to pay the governments directly. And I believe that there's going to be a cascade of evidence, like I mentioned earlier, that will implicate some of these people. And you're seeing all these resignations of Democrat and Republican senators. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
And I believe that they're jumping ship because they're about to, have some serious problems.
Yeah.
And so when they get out of office, they try to claim the immunities and all the rest. This is a very common theme amongst these so-called public officials, right? Public servants, supposedly. Which brings me to my final point. I know you have a lot of other callers. This issue, which I've also harped on several times in my calls, and it's important that everybody understands. I'm an attorney. I've dealt with local fraud issues. I've seen pattern and practice here in my local region in the Northeast in New Jersey. I've taken these things to the FBI, to the local attorney general's offices, and so forth, with nothing being done, with direct evidence, being shown. Trump's failure to appoint local prosecutors means that local fraud, like we saw with the Somali operation, is hard to get rid of. And I believe that they're hoping through the cachet that they're able to clean out the system to some extent, and also secure elections for the midterms. And elections moving ahead. And I just wanted to kind of tie all those things and have people look into the Institute of Peace and other researchers, because there's something there. And one final point I'd like to make. This Judge Brosberg is a big problem. And there has to be a huge effort with people to try to push congressional people to try. I know Byron in Florida tried to get impeachment papers issued, but I do believe that he's using a series of funds and so forth, that he's being influenced, and he's also aligned with the Venezuelan thing as well, Judge Brosberg.
Yeah.
And so there's this huge coterie in Washington, D.C. of these people.
Yeah, no, there definitely is, and we look forward to see how much more of this comes to the surface. I do think, though, seeing Musk at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend was definitely a good indicator, so I'm with you on that. Jordan, thank you for calling in. We appreciate your insight. And everyone else who's on hold right now, stay put. We're going to be taking your calls and diving in and out of that, but I just noticed over at the UN right now, Mike Waltz, the ambassador, is actually speaking in regards to Venezuela. Let's take a listen.
This past weekend, colleagues, the United States successfully carried out a surgical law enforcement operation facilitated by the U.S. military against two indicted fugitives of American justice, narco-terrorist Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores. Colleagues, Nicolas Maduro is responsible for attacks on the people of the United States, for destabilizing the Western Hemisphere, and illegitimately repressing the people of Venezuela. As Secretary Rubio has said, there is no war against Venezuela or its people. We are not occupying a country. This was a law enforcement operation in furtherance of lawful indictments that have existed for decades. The United States arrested a narco-trafficker who is now going to stand trial in the United States in accordance with the rule of law for the crimes he's committed against our people for 15 years. A similar action was taken in 1989 against Manuel Noriega. He was arrested, indicted, convicted in a court of law, served in prison in the United States and in Panama, and the Panamanian people, the American people, are safer for it, and undeniably, the region was more stable. This law enforcement action was directed consistent with the President of the United States' responsibility as Commander-in-Chief to protect Americans at home and abroad against a fugitive who is directly responsible for narcoterrorism that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans and created destabilizing violence throughout our hemisphere. Nicolas Maduro and his co-defendant, Celia Flores, have been transferred here to the United States to stand trial for their crimes. Maduro was indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York and faces very serious criminal charges for his involvement in a wide-ranging conspiracy to conduct narcoterrorism, to traffic cocaine and other drugs, and conducting international weapons trafficking. The overwhelming evidence of his crimes will be presented openly in U.S. court proceedings.
All right, I'll step in on this. We're waiting to see him in federal court. Obviously, he's being shuffled over there now. We saw the helicopter ride over to a federal courthouse in the District of New York in Manhattan. So we'll bring any information as it continues to develop, of course, on that front. Again, also, we're waiting for Tim Walz might actually come out with a statement soon. We'll keep our eye to that as well. But let's turn back to some callers. We've got about 3 minutes left. So Cheese Nader from Wisconsin, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. Happy New Year. Yeah, I'm kind of like in the pro-smoking communist group.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's a great thing that Trump did this with Venezuela. Like, people talk about domestic problems and Antifa and stuff. But you have the opportunity to get all this oil and also take care of a big problem in the region. And, you know, I don't understand, like, Israel gets to go into Palestine and snatch up the West Bank, and Russia gets to go into Ukraine and get Eastern Ukraine. But, like, the U.S. is supposed to be some redheaded stepchild or black sheep. And, you know, it's a dirty business. So, you know, it's not nice, but it's kind of like a big dog eat little dog world. And Trump, I think, is a genius to do that. I wish he would keep going. Like, the amount of chemical warfare that has been done to the children of the U.S. and the citizens of the U.S. with the drug, the poisonous drug coming in, needs to be stopped and needs to be, like, revenged. In Colombia, they have, like, government, I don't know if you saw, Brianna, they have, like, government officials during the Christmas holiday worshiping at a literal church of Satan. And they're all wearing, like, Ku Klux Klan hoods and upside-down crosses. And, like, they do satanic rituals with the drugs, you know. There's always going to be people who use narcotics, but people need to have clean access to those type of things, unfortunately, until we figure out why people are trying to escape, you know. So I'm really happy that this Venezuelan thing happened, and I think he should keep going, preferably at a faster pace. You know, I wish that he would, you know, strike the facilities themselves. I know the NSA and our reconnaissance office with the satellites can pick all those facilities up, and with AI, they're able to backtrack where all these drugs are being produced. And I just think enough is enough, and otherwise it's going to keep getting worse. I'm in Milwaukee. Every day I drive down the street and I see people slumped over, and they get sucked into it, and it's a physical process. They can't help it. For